Shana Tova. One of the things that strikes me as I'm about to have another birthday next week is that I so clearly remember being 3 years old in a backpack as my father carried me on a trail towards Nevada Falls in Yosemite. I remember being 7 after my parents divorced, and my nice dress shoes were at my mom's house when I needed them at my dad's house, and so I had to wear my jelly sandals instead to a wedding. I remember my 16th birthday when my friends and I walked across the Golden Gate Bridge and we danced on the pier in Sausalito and returned home to my mom's shepherd's pie and black bottom cupcakes. I remember my 20th summer when I drove across the country and up to Alaska with my boyfriend to spend my senior year of college that turned into more than 20 years. I remember my 33rd autumn when I faced my failing marriage and what would be my mother's terminal cancer diagnosis. And I remember turning 46 on Yom Kippur Day at my first High Holy Days as an ordained rabbi here at Temple Emek Shalom. I remember them all. I walk forward holding the hand of younger woman Julie, who is holding the hand of little Julie, who is holding the paw of her well-loved teddy bear. Now I am older and hopefully wiser than the younger versions of myself, and even the version of myself who gathered with you all a year ago today. But what happened to me long ago and along the way impacts how I see the world, how I interact with others. It forms the basis of a lot of my interpretations and understandings as I counter every new thing, and also as I remember many old things. Sometimes I forget that my history is there, ever operating under the surface, until something happens, and then there I am reacting from my younger self, perhaps a hurt younger self. And when I notice it, if I notice it, I have learned to comfort my younger self. I assure her, "You're okay. I've got you. I will get you through this, and you deserve all the goodness, love, and care." You see, a premise of Jungian psychoanalysis is that there is inside each of us an inner child who is vulnerable, beautiful, precious, radiant, and in need of protection. We might say in Jewish terms that in essence, this inner child is our pure soul. And every day we actually acknowledge this aspect of ourselves when we sing, Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. My God, the soul you placed within me is pure. Carl Jung taught that part of our healing as adults means healing this pure inner child, finding it, listening to it, and standing up for it. As a human, I try to do this for myself. And as a wife, a mom, a daughter, a friend, a teacher, and a rabbi, I try to do this for others. And I have come to think that Rosh HaShanah tries to do this for all of us as well. Rosh Hashanah is a central holiday of the season of Teshuvah that calls us to do inner work and to return to our wholeness for the sake of ourselves and for the world. Part of the way the rabbis envisioned this healing was through the rituals that accompany this holiday and in particular, the Torah readings they picked for us to read. At first glance, the 2 Torah readings chosen for each of the days of Rosh HaShanah are about 2 of the brightest stars of early Judaism. Abraham, so faithful, and God, so directorial. And when these 2 are presented with the playbook, and with these 2, we are presented with a playbook where God runs the show and asks very hard things of us, and we respond with total faith and rise to the call. But this year, I see something I hadn't fully seen before in these readings. The supporting actors, Abraham's 2 children, have something important to show and teach us too. In a few moments, we will read about the first child, and tomorrow we will read about the second in 2 difficult-to-read stories. Today's story is of Abraham's casting out of his firstborn son Ishmael into the desert wilderness. Tomorrow's story is the story of the Akedah, Abraham's binding and near sacrifice of his second son Isaac on top of a mountain. What an interesting series of texts the rabbis have chosen for us to begin our new year. They're really quite awful, right? Most especially when we think of these 2 children. Talking about this with my friend Sarah, she said, "Perhaps these stories, while being dramatic, are there to be a mirror for us. I expect many of us have experienced feelings of abandonment or neglect by the people we depend on, if not in childhood, at some point in our lives, because it is the nature of being a human being, bumping into the limitations of other human beings." I agree with Sarah. Encountering Ishmael and Isaac as we do in these stories at this season and year after year reminds us to look at ourselves as if in a mirror to honor the truth of our inner children and what they may have experienced as we carry them with us and then interact, respond, engage in our days and with each other. And because we carry our inner children with us, sometimes we don't always engage with others as well as we'd like. We try, of course, and we have feelings, sometimes such big feelings, sometimes triggers to old wounds or new wounds, and then also life is hard, and this world, oh my, this world is so, so hard. And we do the best we can in each moment with the tools that we have in each moment, and our tools are not always great. Remember, the thing about children is that they are still ever becoming. They are not yet fully formed. And thus, even with their implicit and maybe frightening at times vulnerability, they actually represent a whole lot of hope of what could ultimately become. When we think of this in terms of the metaphor of nurturing our inner child, we might then see and take some solace in the fact that we too are still ever becoming. We too are not yet fully formed. Just as I shared last night about the new year, celebrating the world's creation, which in the beginning was pregnant with possibility, so too are we. We are pregnant with possibility to become ever more ourselves. As we know, wisely, the Jewish people have teshuvah, which gives us a way to grow each year even more, and even when we're not children anymore, such that we can go forth differently, not perfectly, but hopefully a little wiser, stronger, and clearer than before. This is what a child is constantly doing as they grow up, increasing in wisdom, strength, and clarity, and it doesn't stop when we grow up. We do not know a lot about what happens internally or externally for Ishmael and Isaac after these scenes in the Torah. But importantly and gratefully, we do know that there is more to their stories than these awful moments. And this too we will read, at least in part, on Rosh HaShanah. Ishmael does not die in the wilderness, but rather goes on to propagate and become realized as an ancestor to a people. And Isaac is not sacrificed on top of the mountain, but rather goes on to be the father of generations who become our people, the Jewish people. And so on the other side of these terrifying moments is the fact that they were then resolved. And this is a very great relief. The end of these children's stories is not that these awful things happened. The end of their stories is that awful things happened and also another thing happened, redemption. It comes in the form of voices of angels, emanations or emissaries of God, showing up at just the right moment with water to save the boy in the desert, with an alternative sacrificial ram to save the boy on the mountaintop. Just as Carl Jung taught us to look at dreams and to see aspects of ourselves in each character in the dream, so have my teachers, my Torah teachers, taught me to look at the Torah and to see aspects of myself in each character found there. And so if we read the text in this way, in addition to seeing aspects of ourselves in Ishmael and Isaac, what if each of us has the potential to be those angels too, with water, with alternatives that become the way forward to save ourselves? And having this potential doesn't mean that we will then be magically all better and never experience a difficult moment again. No, life is not as simple as that. We will have more hard moments, and we will still bring our younger selves with us as we face those moments, however imperfectly. But we will bring the possibility always that we can grow and change and that we can play an active part in our own redemption. And I treasure the hope that this offers. The rabbis may ask us to greet these difficult moments with Ishmael and Isaac every year, but in doing so, they also ask us to stay in it, continually greeting ourselves, including all whom we've ever been, with our scars and with all that we may yet possibly become. They ask us to bring our redeeming, soothing, loving, understanding, listening, honoring, affirming, redeeming compassion to these characters, to their story, so that encountering this Torah on this day will be for us like water in the desert and a ram on the mountaintop, which we entirely need. I recently discovered a beautiful midrash. It goes like this. When the Israelites stood at Mount Sinai waiting to receive Torah, God asked them, "Who will be your guarantors that you will keep it, and then I will give it to you?" They replied, "Our ancestors will be our guarantors." God replied, "I find fault with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Find me good guarantors." The people replied, "The prophets will be our guarantors." And God replied, "I find fault with the prophets." The Israelites then said, "Our children will be our guarantors." And God replied, "Truly, these are good guarantors, and I will give you Torah." The children are on whom our future rests, and in whom our God ultimately trusts. Because of them, says this midrash, we have Torah. And because we once were all children, that means we have the Torah because of us. Because of all of the pure, radiant, vulnerable, precious inner children we are carrying within us. On this Rosh HaShanah, as we encounter these painful stories, may it invoke in us great compassion for ourselves, for the wounds all human beings carry, and for how we are ever becoming. May we also be inspired to be the angelic presence that is right there ready to step in and save ourselves. Our children will be our guarantors. All of the goodness that is possible for us in this world will be theirs. Our children, the ones inside of us. And so let us be like the angels and take such very good care of precious, radiant, deserving, and pure us. Elohai neshama shenatatavi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatatavi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatatavi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatatavi tehorahi. May it be so. Shana Tova.